All right, this is Jeff Durkin here. We Are Change Connecticut. We're here with one of the main organizers for the New York End The Fed rally 2012, Danny Panzella, and he's going to talk about what his experience, what happened today, and how he woke up to the Fed, and what's the future of all this. And we continue on. So, Danny, thanks for coming.
Oh yeah, no problem. Well, how I woke up to the Fed. Basically, I saw Aaron Russo's film Freedom to Fascism when it first came out. And that kind of, I guess, planted seeds, although I didn't really become an activist. But years later, when the financial crisis happened in 2008, is when I really started researching, and I came across Ron Paul, and that's when the Fed became like a central issue for me as an activist. So, you know, I came to End The Fed rallies. Then like a year ago, or a little bit more, we did a flash mob at the Fed, and I was the only one that showed up. And I had my son in a carrier on my chest, and there were like 40 cops surrounding the Fed. They had seen my post on Facebook that I was going to come down. So I got a lot of media attention because of that. I went on Judge Napolitano and Alex Jones and a bunch of shows, and so that kind of led me to just continue now to use that media exposure I had to continue to promote the End The Fed movement. And so, you know, I've tried to organize. I've done like 3 or 4 now rallies, and you know, it seems to be we have a really good turnout. I mean, today we've got about 40 or 50 people, I guess, which is pretty good. I mean, last year we had about 300 show up, but that was in the height of Occupy, so there were a lot of occupiers that kind of agreed with the issue that came along with us. And, you know, it's really not so much about the rallies and getting outside and screaming in front of the Fed, but it's about, you know, giving out the literature, talking to the tourists that are on the street on Wall Street. There are tens of thousands of people that come through that area all the time. So it's really just about spreading the information, because the grassroots is how we will end the Fed. We're not going to end the Fed through the political channels, because they own political channels. So, you know, I mean, basically that's it.
Well, tell us about the interesting flyers we're handing out the Bernanke Bucks today. We just got one right here. We're going to show them one.
The Bernanke Bucks was a play on the deception dollar. And basically on one side it's a Bernanke, and then on the other side it describes, well, there's ketchup on this one, but it describes what the Federal Reserve is, that it's a private banking cartel, and that, you know, why we need to end it. So that's one of the tools that I use. It's catchy. People like, because it looks like money, people like to check it out. So it's a catchy little tool that I use to kind of spread the information.
Well, it goes, when we were talking about it, it really shows how much of a uniting issue it really is, the Fed. Because like you mentioned in your speech before we started, it shows how much the inflation aspect is to people, and addressing that to people about the costs of everything and all that. It's a really good example how we could agree on, whether you're Occupy or anything else like that, whether you're Democrat or Republican, we could all agree on this.
Absolutely. The monetary policy of the Fed obviously only benefits the Wall Street elite, the top firms. It doesn't benefit Main Street, and we see that both through inflation, unemployment numbers, and just the fundamentals. The fundamentals are not there. And, you know, the media keeps saying we're in a recovery, but we're not in a recovery. The banking heads, Wall Street is in recovery, but Main Street is not. And that's because of the Fed policy is designed to benefit the 1%, if you will, or the 0.01%. So, you know, it's just a matter of continuing to educate people, and as long as people will opt out of the system, that's kind of the thing that I preach, is a two-pronged approach. You want to be involved in politics and demand that your elected officials vote to audit the Fed and push for transparency. At the same time, we should be opting out, not using the Federal Reserve notes, setting up barter networks, and using alternatives so that we don't perpetuate the debt. And eventually, when we hit a tipping point, enough people opt out, the Fed will end itself.
All right, just to wrap it up here, tell us any of your websites you're working on, YouTube channel, any good stuff you're putting out to the rest of the people out there.
Awesome. Yeah, my blog is truthsquad.tv, and I have a YouTube channel. It's also youtube.com/truthsquadtv. And my new channel is Practical Anarchy TV. And what I'm focusing on with that is practical ways we can opt out of the Federal Reserve System in our daily lives. So, just trying not to use the currency, approaching local business owners and setting up barter networks and that type of thing, so that we can opt out as much as possible. And it's not all or nothing. Every little bit that you opt out helps. So don't feel like, oh, well, I can't completely get off the grid, so I shouldn't bother. Any way that you can, if you can work an off-the-books job and have the income level that you require, do it. And et cetera, et cetera. So any amount that you could be off the grid is a good thing and hurts the Federal Reserve System. So thank you so much for coming out, and I appreciate everybody that shows up to support the issue and puts out independent media. We need more people putting out independent media.
Definitely. Nice to meet you. Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it.